As we kick into the first quarter of 2025, just how much of the trends that we predicted at the beginning of the year are starting to come to pass? That's what we're going to be exploring this week in the Data Radio Show. Hello there, and welcome to this week's episode of the Data Radio Show. Like many podcasts and pieces of content out there, we like to start the year off by taking a bit of a guess as to what the year ahead is going to offer. We did that with Julian Redmond, the CEO of Ignition and Iris, where we asked him his thoughts on what trends we might see in the data field over 2025. Well, Jules has just got back from a bit of a Northern Hemisphere tour, where he caught up with a bunch of people and organisations working within the data sphere. So I thought it was a great time to sit down and have a chat to him while he was waiting for Tropical Cyclone Alfred to hit Brisbane to find out exactly what those trends are and what we're starting to see emerge as we get into the year. It's a really fascinating insight into how people are moving towards things like data lakehouses, how different rules in different regions don't necessarily impact the way that people work as much as you might think, and how it feels like there might be a bit of a shortage in the careers out there for people coming through who are going to be needed as more and more data becomes much more prevalent to the way that everything works. So let's check that out in a moment. But before then, make sure that you like the video, share the video, or subscribe to the channel so that you can get updates from us all the time on a whole range of topics and be kept in the loop. All right, and afterwards, I'll give you a little bit more information on the event that we mentioned in here as well. So let's jump over to the interview now with Julian. Yeah. Right, Julian, thank you very much for joining me today. Just got back from a bit of a tour around northern parts of the globe. How was the trip?
It was good. I mean, jet lag was brutal, but no, it was good to see lots of our existing partners and old partners, and make some new partners as well. Meet some new people. So it was cold. It kind of progressively got colder. I went to the UK and then through Northern Europe, Germany and Helsinki, and then to the US, where I went to Vermont and Milwaukee and Boise. Kind of just kept getting colder. Lots of jet lag, but no, I've been home 2 weeks now and back into the right time zone and back into work. So that's good.
I was going to say, you come from a warm place, so everywhere is colder.
Correct. Yeah, good. I think -10 Celsius was that was the coldest I had, and that was both Milwaukee and Boise. So,
Oh,
but I mean,
no,
I was silly enough to book a trip in the middle of winter. So,
no,
what do you do? Yeah,
no, that does not sound fun. -10 is
yeah.
not a nice temperature to have to deal with.
Luckily, I
But
had some snow gear, so I did that. I was all good.
yeah, I suppose though, if you're running machines, because data processing takes a lot of power and needs to be cooled, I'm guessing those temperatures would kind of help out a little bit with that.
Yeah, maybe run the cooling from outside. Yeah, that
Yeah,
works in the winter, I guess. Doesn't work so much in the summer. Yeah,
yeah,
but yeah,
yeah,
I guess so.
that- yeah.
I've not looked into that, so.
No, fair enough. On the trip, because you've obviously gone around the globe now, we started off the year by asking you what you sort of thought the trends were going to be that we would see in the data sector over the year. How many of
Mm.
those do you think you spotted out in the wild, as it were? What sort of trends are we sort of seeing out there now from people
Yeah,
working within the data sphere?
yeah. I mean, definitely the Lakehouse architecture is. Yeah, everyone I think is realizing that there's some good value there, and we actually just used it for a customer. We have our architecture built around lake houses, and we used that and managed a migration for them, and it ran under time, so we got it done
Oh,
quicker than we planned. We had zero defects, so zero tickets raised, reconciled first go. So, there's definitely some positives. Like the fact you're using cloud technology, and so you've got the ability to scale things up. And then just the approach where with a lake house you can kind of have a lake and have the warehouse structure, and you can just apply the governance and the data quality and the modeling and stuff to the things that are really important, the things you need now, rather than having to do everything before you start getting value out of it. It's definitely got value, and I think everyone kind of is on that path. There's lots of talk around Databricks being on the rise,
mhm.
using Snowflake in that way as well. There seems to be a lot of enthusiasm about Microsoft Fabric, although it's probably more seeing what's coming with Microsoft Fabric right now. They've certainly packaged up all of their tools into the Fabric offering, but I think there's a lot of expectation. There's a lot of good stuff coming over the next couple of years with that. So lots of discussion around what platforms are going to be the predominant platforms for for data management platforms going forward. So.
How much of those changes that you're seeing in that sort of leaning towards data lakehouses has come down to the fact that AI is a tool that a lot of people are using these days to streamline their processes?
Yeah, I mean, I think it plays into that because I think what the Lakehouse architecture really gives you is flexibility because you can bring stuff into the lake side very easily. So it's easy to pipeline your data in from your sources, and then you can use if your use case suits just that, and so maybe you're storing documents and things in the lakeside, and you just want to do some sort of RAG implementation with AI. That's where they are, and you've applied some level of governance to them. If you do it properly, you're kind of governing the stuff on the way into the lake in a small way, just tagging things up, and so it leans into that, and then it leans into the more structured or semi-structured stuff as well. So audio and video processing, traditional transactional information can kind of handle everything. So it becomes a multi-tool for solving data management problems. And then AI is just essentially another way to access that data and run analytics on it and present it to users and those sorts of things. And so when you're trying to combine data sets, knowledge-based, document-based sort of information with transactional information about something in real time, maybe you need to pull them together. Lakehouse gives you all of those capabilities. That's kind of the multi-tool sort of aspect to it. And then one set of governance policies, one kind of framework approach to data quality, one set of orchestration processes, for management, one control framework running the whole thing. It makes sense. You're kind of creating some uniformity around the way you approach any data in your organization, rather than having to build big, monolithic system for your transactional information, and then the knowledge or content management system over here for something else, and then a data lake to be an archive, for that stuff. That's how we used to do it.
How does that then impact data modeling? Is that something that you see on the rise or on the decline?
Oh, I mean, there's no getting around modeling your data. If you want to bring data that is about a similar concept or the same concept within your business, but stored in different silos, you need to integrate that data in some way. And the way to do that is to model it, to basically, and that's what Data Vault does. Obviously, it's just we create business keys, and the business keys become the hubs in the Data Vault model, and that is really just bringing the data around a single concept together. So, system A and system B both have information around customer, so we can create a hub that is customer, and then a satellite to store all the transactional information from both systems. So it's I mean, it has to be modeled. But what you can do in a lakehouse is you can easily get all your data into the lake, and then you can incrementally build the lakehouse based on value-driven decisions. I need this particular piece of insight to improve my business. So therefore, what data do I need to support that insight? How do I bring that data through from the lake to the lake house and model it then? So you're only modeling the data that you need to answer a particular question, and you know the value of the answer to that question. So you're incrementally building things rather than trying to boil the ocean. So that's highly efficient. It's highly targeted, and you can attach your development effort to business value, a reduction in cost or an increase in revenue or some other things, and so you do the work that's the highest priority, and things build over time, and because Vault can handle change and and is it prefers an agile way of working. You can do that incremental build. And that's the discussion we were having with all of the partners or potential partners for Iris. Is Iris can plug in and just help people move data from their lake to their lakehouse in the Microsoft stack, or in any vendor's tools. Iris can just augment that platform that they have already built with that capability.
Has this tool shown you any sort of insights into automation? Because Iris is an automation tool. Were there any sort of surprises that you came across about people relying on automation more, or it becoming much more ingrained in the system for how people are using the
Yeah,
tools?
I mean, I think that there seems in the data vault world there seems to be strong recognition that you're not going to do a data vault without automation. There's very few people that are trying to do it manually for very long. They might do it manually as a pilot to kind of test the idea. But I think everyone acknowledges that you need some automation. I guess the discussions we had is around what's the challenges with some of the options for automation out there, and they're quite hard to learn and quite a lengthy process to get through that automation build. And so the value we were talking about is obviously Iris is super fast to learn, so you can lift the productivity of a team very quickly and very rapidly have your team producing good quality code. Things like knowledge transfer and stuff, if people move on, is simple as well because it is easy to learn and easy to use. And then we can connect it to existing platforms that are in place. So if someone's using, the data factory, the Microsoft thing, they can just the Microsoft data platform. They can just add Iris to the mix. Make it very simple to use Data Vault automation, lift the productivity of their team very quickly, and not have to do a rip and replace. Whereas obviously, if you're going for more of one of the larger platforms that has all of the capabilities for an entire data management platform, you'd be pulling out Data Factory and putting in that alternative, and that's a big project. So that was sort of because obviously the point of the trip was to talk to partners that were interested in working with Iris. So lots of those sorts of conversations, and Iris won't suit every customer because there are definitely those sites that are looking for what platform is going to solve all of our problems. But everyone we spoke to confirmed they know sites, they have sites, they've got customers who have invested in AWS tools or Microsoft tools, or other third-party platforms like Talend or something like that, and they just want to add Data Vault automation to that mix. And so, yeah, works.
In terms of the industry itself, we keep seeing stats saying it's growing consistently. There's a lot of movement around how important data is and how much organizations need to be aware of it. Did you get a sense while you were out there of just how important proper data management is, like accurate data management, professional data management is becoming in the world as a whole?
I mean, it's still influenced by the kind of the businesses that you might think of as being data driven. Like so a finance or insurance business, their business is information. They're storing transactions and recording numbers that represent money and those sorts of things. And they also have huge amounts of regulations to follow and to comply to and those sorts of things. So I think it's still healthcare, government, all of those things where there's lots of PII, personally identifiable data, or governance requirements. There's still a huge recognition in those spaces. They're far more mature. They've been doing this for a lot longer. We're definitely seeing other organisations, education spaces, definitely understanding the value. They're storing, thousands or millions of students' data, and it's quite important. It's their educational data, it's their results, it's all those sorts of things as well, and there's financial stuff in there as well. So we're seeing that space certainly leaning into it. I think, but more and more, everyone is interested in AI. Everyone's interested in how could we do it? How could we, what opportunities would it give our business? Can we improve the life of us and efficiency of our staff? Help them make less mistakes or do things more efficiently. and then also, can it help customers? Can it help create new offerings or improve existing offerings? All that sort of stuff. So all of that has to be based on trusting the data set that it's built on. So I I think that one of the challenges is there's an awareness of that, but the motivation to kick off those projects is still hard because it is still a big daunting thing to tackle. Um, and it takes discipline, and it takes investment in technology and people, and and processes and methodologies and those sorts of things. And so we're trying to make that a lot easier. Like, every vendor is rushing to make data management easier, and we're obviously doing the same thing. We've got some really good ideas around where we're heading too, around how to actually uh, improve the experience of a data modeler or a data engineer to actually deliver to the business, so they can deliver at the pace that the business is demanding, which is just getting faster and faster. So.
You went through a whole bunch of regions that have a whole bunch of different rules. Australia's got its Privacy Act that I think is still in the works at the moment. They're reworking that one.
Releasing updates all the time.
Europe with GDPR. The UK is in the
Yeah.
process at the moment of rewriting some of its information around regulation for AI and data management. The United States is an interesting place to look at the moment with the new administration over there, where they haven't put in people in charge of cybersecurity yet. I believe it is. So going from region to region, how much of that regulation impacted what it was that you were seeing, or the sort of the way that locals were approaching the work that they did?
I think I think everyone's taking a similar approach, because most of the our customers or our partners provide services around data management. Most of them leveraging the data vault technique, because that gives them that blueprint to follow, a set of standards to work with, and those standards help address data privacy and compliance, and and PII and all those sorts of things. So that kind of leans into that. But I think, though, those partners, their customers are mostly international businesses, or
Mm-hmm.
businesses, even if they are, let's, a university. We're talking about education as before. If it's a university, they're still getting international students, and if you're holding EU citizens' data in your database, then you better have considered the implications of GDPR. So those rules, although they're kind of regional, have an effect on businesses that try and work globally. And there's very few businesses that don't have some kind of global reach, I guess. In the layer that where enterprise data management and data vault is relevant, there's a big proportion. So I think all of our partners have taken the approach of, they need really strong skills, knowledge, and capability around compliance and security and PII and governance and all of those sorts of things, and then they apply that process to these organisations, whether they do have an impact, whether GDPR or Sarbanes or whatever else is the particular thing that is going to apply in that region. They're trying to bring best practice to all those things. And we do the same thing from our services side over here. We try and take a best practice approach to those types of issues, because like, why would you implement something that's less than best practice when it comes to security or privacy? So I think there's an awareness. I think everyone is aware that their region has its own rules, and then other rules may still apply from other regions, or and in the case of GDPR, potentially big fines and things as well for breaching it. So that kind of answers the question, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Was there any surprises that you came across? Anything that you were sort of shocked by, or didn't expect to see happening in terms of the way that people are working, or the tools that they're using, or sort of the attitudes towards the work that they're doing?
No, I mean, we had a great reception. I think everyone, once they kind of see what we've built with Iris and where it positions and what problem it solves, just it makes a lot of sense for for those that are trying to get projects up and going really quickly and get teams enabled very quickly, and really get get progress as fast as possible. I think it makes sense, and a lot of the, again, because we're talking to partners, they're going, well, yeah, I know 5 customers right now who are dealing with that problem. They've started building in something, and then they've realized they want to use Data Vault, and now they don't want to have to re-platform. They just want to, they just want to pick something up. So we had a great positive thing. I think it's just a progression. I think that business has been interesting over the last few years. There's obviously been the inflation crisis that the world has dealt with, and that's impacted people's businesses in different ways in different regions. So there was definitely some of that, but I think there was definitely a optimism about where things are heading. The team in Germany have a great approach to bringing new people out of university, putting them through kind of an intern apprentice type. So they take a different approach to how to building new skills in their team, and it's fantastic. I really applaud them for what they're doing. There, and so that was kind of maybe some of the surprising stuff, is the different ways that people are approaching growing these sorts of skills, because everywhere is scarce. There aren't enough people who know this stuff with experience and all of that sort of stuff. So, and it's only going to get worse. The amount of data and the amount of expectations of what can come out of that data is just growing all the time. So skills resource and all those sorts of things were big topics.
See, that ties in really nicely to the last part of the conversation I want to have with you, which is a community meetup that's happening early April in, I'm pretty sure it's Melbourne that the community meetup's in.
Correct, yeah.
Looking at AI and data for asset-intensive industries and how that can be used for decision-making. Kind of curious what your perspective is on this topic and what you think people are going to be able to get out of this kind of meetup.
Yeah, well, we kind of set it at that time because we've got some of the team from Scale Free coming to Melbourne to spend some time with us, which is great. So we obviously went, well, if we've got that opportunity, we should plan to do something, and so we'll be running that meetup, and it's essentially a half-day sort of event, we'll do some talks on on AI. We definitely have an asset-centric flavour to it because we have a big customer base that is asset-intensive organisations, and we've done some discussions with with some of those customers who are all looking for how do they actually apply AI. There's a lot of opportunities, I think, for them to build AI solutions that improve the productivity or efficiency or quality of their team's work. So they've got engineers on on site and various things. They've got, so it's not all customer facing. They don't have to build a customer facing app necessarily and provide transactional information into a customer facing app, which is a bit scary for a lot of people early on. But they have big teams who are maintaining equipment and managing equipment and dealing with scheduling and all of those other things. And so there's huge opportunities to create AI solutions that will support those teams, make them more efficient, and improve the level of service that they're giving their customers, because increased uptime or reduced time to remediate an issue. And that takes the multiple forms. You can do things like using AI to sift through historical notes and try and find patterns in issues and remediation that you weren't aware of, to improving data quality and data classification, right up to things like maybe providing easy access to guidance from manuals and procedures for an engineer that's actually doing some work on a piece of equipment. So there's lots of opportunities for AI to provide information in different ways to put it in the hands of users. And so it's a huge topic. But the kind of the nice thing now is that the architecture that sits behind that is pretty uniform. It is kind of started off talking about lake houses, and our reference architecture we use for building those systems gives a customer all the components to deliver all those different use cases I was just talking about without having to have multiple platforms and those sorts of things. So it'll be an interesting chat, and great that we've got the Scale 3 guys coming down and adding an extra dimension to it and providing some insights into the experience they've had in Europe. So yeah, it should be a good event.
Fantastic. And we'll make sure that there's details for that up on the school classroom. So people who want to know a bit more, they can go and check that one out. Once I think the artwork's all signed off, I think is when we're looking at putting it up. So it should be soon. We'll have the details out really soon. Julian, thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate it. Good luck with the cyclone. Hopefully it's not too damaging.
You'll be right.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Cyclones hit all the time. Nothing ever goes wrong. All right, thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Paul.
Hey, I want to thank Jules again for sitting down with me at a slightly stressful time over in Brisbane at the moment as they sit and wait for Tropical Cyclone Alfred to make landfall. So he's all bunkered down and very safe at the moment, which is great to hear. Hopefully it passes without too much damage. Now, we did mention in that video that we've got a bit of an upcoming event which will be in the first couple of days of April 2025 in Melbourne, where we're going to be sitting down with some teams from Scale 3 and some of the team from Ignition and a few other groups to talk about artificial intelligence and data being used, particularly around what we call heavy asset management. You know, there are people who look after your bridges and trains and other big things like that. We're going to make sure that there's details for that available in the school classroom as soon as we've locked everything down 110%, which should be sometime fairly soon if it's not up there already. But you can find a link to that in the description down below so you can be kept informed. And while you're there, you might as well sign up if you haven't done so already. It's a great way to learn stuff. There's a whole bunch of courses in there as well for people to take in their own time, and you can connect with other people within the industry from around the world. Until next week, look after yourself, live long, prosper, be one with the force, and I will catch you all next time.